Hey everybody, this is John from Mako. I'm here to share some really cool information about Mako's Stroke and Coat product today. It's the most variety of uses of any product on the market, and I'm going to show you a little bit about all those things. First of all, our product, Stroke and Coat, really is a glaze. It can be used very much the way you would use an underglaze, only this is a glaze. It does fire with a beautiful high gloss finish when you fire it to cone, anywhere from 04, 06 to a glaze firing, all the way up to a high fire temperature, which I'll show you in a moment. Let's start off by showing you some of the versatility of Stroke and Coat. A lot of times you were looking for a product that we can apply light colors on top of dark colors. In the ceramic world, that's kind of a no-no, but with Stroke and Coat, we make that very achievable for you. This is a great example of using bright, light, vibrant colors over a very rich, intense, dark color. And you can see how vibrant that is. It's just placed right directly on top of the glue. So you can see that if you're one of those decorative painters, you can use all the kinds of brush strokes or applications that you might use with acrylic stains or paints. So you can see how beautiful that fires. Now, because I mentioned this was a glaze and not really a typical underglaze product, this plate that I'm holding does not have any clear glaze applied to it at all. It was strictly applied with Stroke and Coat right on our bisqueware, fired in the kiln to cone 06. And look at the bright, brilliant shine you achieve with Stroke and Coat without the use of any clear glaze. So it saves you time and money by using Stroke and Coat. Now, they're also very opaque and heavier consistency in the jar. So you can do things like putting something as light as white on something as dark and intense as a black. And look at how it completely blocks out the black color using 2 to 3 good coats of the white right on top of that black. And there's no evidence of that black trying to bleed through. Where you put it is where it stays. There's no movement, there's no bleeding. It's really an opaque finish. Now, I said it's an opaque finish, but you can achieve many different looks with Stroke and Coat by changing the number of coats that you apply. We coated this with white Stroke and Coat, our cottontail, and then applied different amounts of coats of the same color to achieve different hues and different intensities. The flower on the top is just one coat. Now, many times fired colors, when you put one coat on, it fires away almost completely. There's no residue or evidence of the color. Look at how strong the pigment is on Stroke and Coat with just one coat. Red is red, orange is vibrant, yellow is still there. This is 2 coats, so this would be a translucent or a transparent effect. This would be semi-opaque. There's some evidence of the white trying to peek through a little bit. It gives it just a nice stroke finish. Now, the bottom flower is 3 full-strength coats of Stroke and Coat to achieve that true opacity that we're looking for. So, depending on the type of look you're looking for, you can achieve it with Stroke and Coat by applying either 1, 2, or 3 coats in your application. Now, Stroke and Coat, even though it is a glaze, it can be used for intricate design work. This is an example of modeling colors and the blendability of the color. We use several earth tone shades that remind us of the autumn season, and they're just randomly placed on top of each other. There's no bleeding, there's no running together. Each color you can see very clearly where it was placed. You can also get very crisp, sharp detail, like this little apple and strawberry tile I'm holding. You can see that, the sharp, crisp edges. There's no running, there's no bleeding. It just stays perfect exactly where you put it and fires with that beautiful, brilliant shine. So if you do stencil work, or if you're good with a paintbrush and you want to achieve that graphic, sharp, hard edge image, very much like an acrylic painter would put on a canvas, you can use Stroke and Coat to achieve that very same hard edge, crisp, bright look. Now, I talked about it being a little bit of a thicker consistency or viscosity in our bottle. We give you a lot of color in the bottle. It's not a lot of fluff and filler and water. It's really pure pigments. So you're going to notice that it's a little bit of a thicker consistency. Well, the good thing about that is it slows down the drying time just a little bit. So it allows you to blend your colors. So if you look at the style of, say, an oil painter where they have a slow drying time where they can manipulate that color and blend it and move it, we can achieve that with Stroke and Coat by letting them just gently flow into one another and have a nice blend. It doesn't just immediately dry the moment it touches your ware. So that's really a perk for using stroke and coat compared to a lot of other types of paints for ceramics. Now another fun thing you can do with stroke and coat, we also sell little writer tips that you can take any of our 3 stroke and coat bottles, take off its cap, and attach a squeeze bottle nozzle. And that's what we've done with this plate here. We've base coated it with our black stroke and coat, and then we just used the writer tip on the stroke and coat bottle and just squeeze that out very much like a cake decorator would do or a piping artist, so you can get that bold thin line if you're not really comfortable holding a paintbrush to achieve a thin line. So this gives you a nice strong color. Again, this is the light over the dark, and you can see how that completely blocks out the black underneath. It's completely opaque. Now let's go to the other extreme. If maybe you're a watercolor artist and you're just dabbling in ceramics, and your skill is working with water on your brush or thinning down the pigment, the nice thing about stroke and coat is because it's so heavily pigmented, you can dilute it with water and still have a very intense, rich color in your design. So a lot of these colors were diluted quite a bit with either water on the paintbrush or actually mixing water with the stroke and coat. And you can see that it does not dilute its intensity. It stays very true, very much like a watercolor would work on watercolor paper. So you could base coat this with stroke and coat, maybe white or a cream color to simulate a canvas or a gesso, or work directly on ceramic bisque, and you will get the same effect. So isn't that really a great opportunity and the flexibility of what one product can do? Now there's other kinds of things that I'm going to be the myth buster here. A lot of you that are ceramic artists might be familiar with the dangers of using red colors. They have a tendency to turn gray, bleach out, fade away, kind of difficult to use. Not with stroke and coat. Stroke and coat can go through, it's almost miraculous what we can do with our red and not have it disturb at all. So this is our red stroke and coat hot tamale applied all over. One of the myths that I'm going to bust is a lot of times when you take a green fired color and let it touch a red fired color, it reacts poorly and it gets bleaching and bleeding and turns the red white. But you can see here that the red stays very vibrant. There's absolutely no discoloration in our product. So green and red can have a perfect happy marriage with stroke and coat. You don't have to worry about any of those problems that you may have encountered in the past with some of the other brands of color. Now it's also very flexible because we can use that light over dark. You can base coat your piece entirely with black. I showed you earlier just something simple like black and white. But how about using a whole palette of vibrant stroke and coat colors in 1, 2, or 3 coats like I showed you on the flowers to get that very vibrant, hard edge look. You can blend the colors together, and even though it's sitting on top of the black, they still come through bright and brilliant. So I think that's a real perk when using stroke and coat. Lastly, let's talk about some of the variables in firing range. The typical use in a low fire ceramic artist's world would be to fire them to a shelf cone 06, working on a cone 04 bisqueware. But maybe you want to be a high fire artist and you like to use stoneware or porcelain glazes and clay bodies. Stroke and coat is welcomed in that world too. If you're working with stoneware or porcelain clay, this is our stroke and coat. This happens to be limelight, a green, which sometimes greens at high fire discolor, change color, not always the best looking results. But look at how brilliant this limelight stays in its color. This was fired to cone 6, so it's a high fire on a stoneware clay body. I'm going to show the back of this, and you can see this is our SC78 limelight color, and this is a buff colored stoneware. So you can see that it works really great. So if you want something really extra durable, go with a high fire body and use stroke and coat for those brilliant colors that are hard to achieve at those temperatures. If you're a low fire clay artist, maybe you use terracotta clay or low fire white clay. One of the benefits of stroke and coat is you don't have to buy a separate product line. If you've already got stroke and coat, you can go ahead and use that like we did here directly on the greenware, whether it's wet or dry clay, and do a single fire technique. So you can save time, save energy, and if you're in a classroom situation and you need something turned around in just one visit or one class session, stroke and